Hey everyone, it's Carl Sanfilippo. Today's episode of Victory Within, we are going to interview Kyle Newell, aka the Human Strength Expert. Kyle is a personal friend of mine for the last 30 years. I've seen Kyle transition since we were kids to an adult, and I've seen him go through his journey of physical fitness. He has had a lot of hurdles over the years. He's had a lot of great accomplishments. So I'm excited to share this story with everybody. Kyle owns multiple gyms. He's a published author, and he's really just a smart guy. So I hope you take a lot of nuggets away from today. Enjoy the show. Hey, good morning, everybody. Today, I am super excited to be interviewing an old friend of mine for about 30 years, since middle school. He's the owner of Newell Strength in Hillsborough, New Jersey, and Flemington, New Jersey. Kyle Newell. Kyle, thank you so much for joining today.
Hey, thanks, Cole, man. I'm looking forward to this, man. It's been a long time.
And I'm excited to bring Kyle on because we bring so many people in the real estate industry. We've had interviews with the CEO of Remax, other high-level agents throughout the country, but I'm excited to bring on Kyle because I think there's a lot of parallels in what he does to the real estate business and any business in general when you start talking about leadership, business development, things like that. So Kyle, appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you're busy, but tell everybody watching, tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us about the progression. How did you become the owner of these gym and the Human Strength Expert?
Yeah, sure, man. So I went, when I came out of Delaware, University of Delaware, 2003, when we graduated college, I went right to Rutgers and worked with the football team, strength and conditioning. And it was a great experience. But I knew at that point that wasn't exactly what I wanted to do after that summer, at that time in my life. So I went back for health and phys ed. Teaching certification. At the same time, I was starting to compete in bodybuilding shows. So when I would go to the gym to work out, people, and I was doing some unusual stuff at the time. It wasn't, and people would say, "Hey, can you write me a program?" So I would start writing programs and all this stuff, and started teaching in 2006. Started running the weight room over in Bridgewater High School, and it just kind of grew. It kind of evolved. So a Tony Robbins book inspired me, Awaken the Giant Within. I had taken a few years off from competing. I was having all these digestive, like ulcers, all this stuff. I wound up having some surgeries. And when I went around the country to different places, Cleveland Clinic, I went down to a hospital in Tennessee. And I was really depressed. Nobody could figure out what was going on. So I stopped working out and stopped doing all this stuff. So finally I said, I'm going to compete again. Because I have nothing else. I felt like I had nothing else to live for. I'm just going to compete. What do I have to lose? Get my mind maybe off of this issue. And as I started doing that, I started reading Tony Robbins and started really getting back into shape, and all my symptoms went away. So there's a whole reason for that. But it really sparked reading that book that, hey, I got a lot more that I can give. And it was between a landscaping business and personal training, because my first business as a young kid, 10 years old, was landscape. I would go around and cut grass, and I loved that. And so I started the business, slowly started growing it, and out of the car in my parents' basement. And then when you started training again, came back, crossed paths with me at the first facility in 2011. I was still teaching, and I taught for another year and a half, kept expanding the business, and I resigned from teaching right at the weekend of Hurricane Sandy, that Friday.
Oh, wow.
I got a resignation in, and then Sandy hit, and the gym was basically a mess. I mean, the roof came off the gym, water damage, had to move spots temporarily, but I knew I had 60 more days of teaching, and I was good. So it was kind of a test. It was a test. It was a cool story. So that's kind of, and now we're here. We kept expanding. So we got a spot in Hillsborough, a spot in Flemington, and got some good stuff planned for the future.
That's awesome, man. And I think anyone listening, you definitely have to be disciplined to be able to do all the things that you have done, grow the businesses, compete, bodybuilding competitions. And I've seen part of the journey, and it's been amazing to watch. Well, one thing we've always talked about, and I got to give you credit, man. You are ahead of me on this. Talk to me about how important the education, the learning, and when I say education, I don't mean the college degrees and all that. The education, the business, the real world education that you've got that have helped you along the way.
It's been I started, it goes back to that Tony Robbins book, and at that point I was not really a leader. I wasn't really learning actively. I would just kind of learn. I would study the strength stuff and whatnot, bodybuilding stuff. But then that book put me on a path to investing in myself and just becoming obsessed with learning from the best people, building my library, going to seminars. I mean, I remember, I don't know if you were there that week, but there was a seminar back in the fall of 2011 I wanted to go to out in Ohio, and I left some of the clients in charge of the gym. I said, I'm going, so you guys got to run the gym. But it's been invaluable as far as studying, continuing to expand to this day. My wife Devin knows if there's anything that will put me on edge, it's a day without learning something.
Right. That's awesome, man. The same way, and we talk about this all the time, how education really helps propel, especially when you're feeling kind of stuck.
Yeah.
It's a great way to help you get propelled out of ruts. Yeah. So, you said something there that's important to me, and it's something we talk about a lot, the word leadership. And to me, leadership can mean a lot of different things. And no matter what kind of community you'd be the head of, you could be the leader of. I mean, tell me a little bit about your leadership journey. Tell me what leadership means to you, how you look at leadership, how you try to be a leader within your community at Newell Strength.
Sure. The way I look at leadership is there's basically two. Some people are stepping into a leadership role, like if you hire a CEO of your business, they know, okay, I'm stepping into a leadership role. And then if we start our businesses like you and I did, it just kind of comes with the territory. You got to grow into it. You didn't necessarily start doing that because you wanted to lead this large number of people, but you find out, hey, I got to get pretty good at this leadership stuff. Otherwise, it's okay. Thanks, right, Dan. See you later. Bye. If you don't step into it, it's going to flounder. So what it means to me really is something I got tattooed on my wrist. This acronym is do what you said you would do. So that's the simplest thing I try to lead and live by. And I know people are just like kids, right? They're learning. My team, everybody else that's around me, they're observing what I'm doing. It's not necessarily me telling them stuff, but they're seeing. There's always a book with me. There's always a conversation. I learned this, and then it sparks something in them. So to me, it's really about leading by example, integrity, and honesty. Just having conversations that might be uncomfortable with people, but you live by your principles. And I think most people don't have a philosophy that they live by or any type of principles that they live by. They just kind of go with whatever way. But you got to take time to say, this is what I live by. This is what I believe in. This is what I'm going to do.
Who have been role models and leaders to you growing up and throughout life that have really helped shape the way you're leading and living?
Man, role models growing up. The funny one who I've never met, obviously, is, but as a teenage boy, that really kind of I connected with his mindset was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I have a post for a year, and he was all about the mindset. And I remember learning, obviously, like a young guy, where you get attracted to the muscles and what that could possibly bring into your life. But something that always stuck with me was when he was 12, 13 years old, he told all his buddies in Austria, I'm going to go, and this is before he could even speak English. He says, I'm going to go to America. I'm going to be the best bodybuilder in the world. I'm going to be an action star in Hollywood, and I'm going to go into American politics. And they thought he was crazy. You can't even speak English, and you don't even have any muscle. But he had the vision. So, I remember in high school, I would always study Schwarzenegger. I would watch Puppy Art over just to kind of get that to my mind. So he's a role model from afar. And then my parents, like I know your parents had a big impact on you. One thing that I'm very fortunate with, my parents were as least judgmental as you could be. They let me and my brothers learn on our own. They would guide us, but they didn't say, hey, you got to do this. You have to do this. They've always been supportive and loving, and they want the best for you. But just kind of using that non-judgmental, with our clients here. Yeah, I think that's, you know, I learned a lot from my parents as role models as far as just how to be acceptance of everything. I got three brothers. We're all different. We're similar in a lot of ways. We're all different in a lot of ways. And my parents allowed us to grow. So, they were definitely role models. And then, yeah, a lot of my role models, I've hired coaches throughout the years as I've gotten older. I only hire people that they have something in their life that I'm aspiring to.
Right.
So Vince Gabriel has been coaching me for a long time, since 2012, still coaching me. We've become real good buddies. Kind of like you were telling me with your buddy that coaches you.
Yeah.
More friendship now, but it's, he's always growing. That attracts me. He's always learning still. He's running his master, but he's always learning. He's always got his own coaches. So I look for the role models that are constantly growing.
Kyle, one thing I could say is being a member of your gym in the past and seeing around it is one thing I think that you have a special knack for is making everybody feel important in your gym and not judging anybody. Because going to a new gym could be very intimidating, especially for somebody who might not have worked out for a while or might not be in the best shape that they want to be. Is you definitely embrace everybody within the gym and make them feel very welcome, because you have athletes at all different levels at your gym, from just basically pro athlete level to just beginning working out, haven't worked out in 20 years. And I think you give everybody all a very similar experience.
Yeah.
I think that's why your gym is growing. So I just want to acknowledge you for that, because I think you've done a great job on that.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that's, it is. You got to make people feel welcome as soon as they step in and find that common bond, and connect them with somebody else in the gym. Yeah, I remember just growing up, I was never I'm an introvert. I was not very social. So I remember what that feels like, walking into a spot and feeling a little awkward. So we try to make that a point to, hey, come here, just break the ice,
And it's funny you say that. A lot of people call me the introvert extrovert. And I think that, and I read an article about what an introvert extrovert is, and I was like, this is pretty spot on. This is pretty spot on. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
One thing I always give you credit for too is, and you were ahead of the curve on this too, is your marketing. You really, really embraced marketing more so than I think, and I don't mean this in a bad way, more so than maybe people would think would own a gym would embrace marketing.
Yeah.
And you talk a little bit about your marketing, direct response marketing, and how that's affected your business and how you've learned that, because it's a quality. I think your copyright, and if anyone's watching this and you're not friends with Kyle or follow his gym, you definitely have to follow and friend request. I mean, Kyle is really good at copyright. He's really good at telling the story. And I tell realtors all the time that people remember what they see, what they hear, and what they read. So good copyright is so important. So just kind of unpack that a little bit for us.
Yeah, it's I learned when I started the business right away. I was like, okay, I didn't know what I was doing with marketing. No idea at first. I still have some of the old flyers, and the effort was there, right? I would literally ride my bike around local neighborhoods and put flyers in the mailbox. So and then I started saying, okay, I gotta start studying this, just like I studied the human body and nutrition. So I started studying Dan Kennedy, right?
Right.
Dan Kennedy and Seth Godin, and then I started going to their seminars, and then I started studying that way more than I started. I had a very good base already with training throughout the years, so I put everything I had into that, and I said, okay, if I can market, like you said, most people in this industry, now it's more common, but there was no thought to marketing. There was word of mouth. But it's okay, that's a good form of market, but how are you going to drive that? And studying some of these great marketing experts, going through their courses, because most people get these things right. That they'll order a course, comes to their house, they never do it. I would always go through it, no matter how long it took me. I'd go through it, practice it, and then anytime I learned something, I would apply it right away. I would test it. I would, whether that's teaching it or mailing out, and then nowadays we do a lot of stuff on Facebook, and I realized if marketing, all business is marketing.
Correct.
Go into multiple businesses just because I know how to market. I don't know the technical stuff. I can find somebody to maybe help me with that stuff, and it is. And then you weave in, I love writing. I love making content. And that's kind of not necessarily your paid marketing, but it's like you said, building that trust, building that story and teaching stuff you're passionate about, and they see that, and then they're going to also see the ads, the copy, the ad copy, all this stuff, and then boom, it's a 1-2 punch, and it's very powerful if you start studying and applying it.
And I think anyone who's watching this, really, Dan Kennedy, Seth Godin, great resources, great free books. And you don't have to go right to that. If you want, you can go to their seminars. I mean, one thing now, there's so much great content out there for free that there's really no excuse, more so than there was 10, 11 years ago when you and I really started getting into this.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go on a deep down spiral on YouTube on a lot of this stuff, and it's a lot more readily available. And one thing you do, and I tell a lot of agents this, is I talk about the power of video. Talk about that a little bit, because you really embraced video with your business as well.
Yeah, and it's funny because I had a YouTube channel before. I mean, I would like to see. I mean, this is going back to 2008. I had a YouTube channel. So, and I still have it, and I don't use that. I want to get back more into that, but I started realizing that video, when I first started using it, was a way to become a local expert, local celebrity. Right? Because people say, "Oh, he's on YouTube," and it's a lot of people that, at least then, that was a big deal. He's on the computer. He's on a, and now it's evolved where I do a couple weekly videos every week, and I never script them. I just go, and it's that constant positioning yourself as the expert. And I love to teach, and a lot of stuff, like I said, I'll learn it, and then I'll hop on a video and teach it right away. Now I've cemented it more in my head. And I gave a seminar in March, right before the quarantine hit, to a bunch of gym owners. We're talking about putting on live seminars, because we do that here, and we usually draw a pretty good crowd, and we're 50 to 120 people. And a lot of people are scared to speak, public speaking. And I said, guys, the quickest way you can get good at this is start doing live videos. Just hit the button and go.
Yeah.
And you just go, and it doesn't matter if it's perfect, but you're constantly putting stuff out. You never know who's going to see something. You never know what's going to resonate with somebody. And it's, people are seeing you, right? They're seeing you. They're connecting with you. So video is extremely important. If you have fear of it, you just got to start doing it. And it's not like there's a million people that are going to be watching right out the gate.
It's funny. We had a meeting online, virtual, the other day, and one of my agents came up to me and goes, "Carl, 3 years ago you were terrible at public speaking, but you are so good right now." And because it took practice, it took consistency. I always say you can't get attached to the instant result. You got to get attached to your process and your practice. And I think that resonates a lot with gyms. You're not going to go work out one day and lose 30 pounds, but if you get attached to the process of the healthy lifestyle, the results will follow.
Yeah, it's right on, man. It's a craft, man. How you're going to present yourself in the speaking, right? And the speaking, to me, is so powerful. A lot of the coaches I've hired, they've worked on that a lot with me, and I've taken that. I'm going to, in September, speaker school for 3 days. Get critiqued, get up in front of people and let them rip you a new one. But it's how you get better, right? And you, like you said, it's a process. You always got to be getting better at it.
And what I love about this, and the reason I wanted to have you on, is I just hear so many similarities between your business and my business. We do live seminars once a month. I mean, we've had to kind of pivot to virtual right now with everything going, but pre-quarantine, once a month, we do a live seminar event. I'm speaking, I bring somebody in to speak. It's a free educational, just try to give to realtors that can help them with their business and anything else. It's not a salesy meeting.
Yeah.
And it's the same type of thing. We do the same type of marketing. I always say the worst thing, an agent can join my company. If they say, if I knew how great it was to join your company, I would have joined years ago. And when I hear someone say that, I say, that's a bad job of marketing on my end. Right? Because a part of marketing is you should show people what it's like to be part of your community before they're in your community. And this is something, so any agent watching this, the same principles I'm using, Kyle's using, if you use in your business and you stay consistent with it, it will grow your business in a different way.
It will 1,000%. It's like you said, people want to do it one time. Oh, I didn't get anything. Well, it's not, first of all, it's about what are you giving? And you just keep showing up and keep being consistent over and over, and you're going to, it's the magic will happen.
Kyle, tell us a little. I always like hearing this because I always say when people are on their journey, a lot of people tend to just see the good things. I mean, tell us about some of your greatest accomplishment. What do you think was one of your best accomplishments? But on vice versa, what was one of your biggest challenges that you had to overcome?
So within the business,
Just in business and life in general.
I would say the greatest accomplishment, right? For me, we got 3 little children. Is 10 years ago, I would not have been ready for that because I was so out of harmony and out of balance, which
Right.
being obsessed with the business, that it would have been bad to bring them into it. So I wouldn't have given them the attention that now I can give them and be mindful with them. So I'm really happy with that, the growth I've had in that area as far as just trying to live life in harmony and not work 70, 80 hours a week, And some of the biggest challenges was going through that process as far as being able to be present in the moment and stop thinking about everything I had to do for the business. And when I resigned from T, the reason we made that decision when we did, me and Devin, was the year before I got really bad pneumonia because I was just burning myself out. I got really bad pneumonia. Then I blew out my left power tendon. Yeah. And I missed the rest of the school year teaching. And I realized physically, and that's almost 10 years ago. So quite a bit younger then, but I was 30 years old. But I couldn't sustain what I knew. We knew. I said, okay, you got to pick. And so it's been a big transition point from that. That was tough times, just not being in the best health, even though I was in fitness because I wasn't sleeping because I thought that was what I should be doing. I should be up working all hours of the night. I remember it was years ago and you had posted something on Facebook. Why are you up at whatever time you said something? I put something up.
Did I?
Why are you up at 4 o'clock in the morning? That was what I thought I should be doing at the time, out working everybody. And so you learn, right? You learn. So it's those were tough times when I didn't know how to treat my mind and my spirit as far as resting them.
Yeah, and I have the same challenge. I think just being a super like on the disc profile, like a high D, like super driven, and I think some people are shocked sometimes by my drive because I don't really talk about it a lot. I just do it. But turning that D down sometimes is very difficult, especially when you have an idea. I kind of have that pit bull mentality. I get lockjawed on it. Like I want to see it through. I want to see it executed. Sometimes it's tough to like, hey, you need to scale it back right now.
Yeah.
For the balance of your life.
Yeah, it is, man. Because otherwise, it could be a lonely life.
So tell me this: which one you mentioned before, besides the Tony Robbins? What's another book that's had a huge impact on your life?
I would say The War of Art, not The Art of War, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
Okay.
The War of Art, and it's really about. It's such a simple read, but it's so great because it's about whatever your calling is. There's always going to be this resistance that comes to meet you, to stop you. So if I'm a writer, the hardest thing, the easiest thing to do is actually when I'm writing, but it's getting to the keyboard to write. This text is going to come through. This email is going to come through. And then he really explains the process. Anything where you're trying to advance in life, there's going to be resistance. If you're trying to go the other way, there's going to be no resistance. If you just say, I'm going to close my shops, I'm going to close my business, I'm just going to go be a general manager at Best Buy, you're not going to face, it's going to be an easy thing, but you're trying to scale up. So that was a great book. The 50th Law, which I read when I was resigning from teaching, by Robert Greene and 50 Cent. And a lot of people hear that and like, I can't. I'm like, listen, the book, he goes into so much history in the book about people that were fearless, like Napoleon, Malcolm X, all these people. And then it goes back to 50 Cent's life on the streets and how he had this vision of what he wanted for his life. And he was just using that as a means to move forward. And look at him now. Hundreds of millions of dollars his empire's worth. So I found it really, really inspiring book.
I just wrote that down. I'm definitely want to check that out. Both of them.
Yeah, both of them were really good.
That's awesome. So one last question, Kyle, and I think you touched on this a little bit. What would you tell the 20-year-old Kyle now?
Stop and smell the roses. I think, enjoy, like we were just talking about, enjoy it a little more. When I was competing, when I started competing later on, the later contests, I got that a little more. that, hey, it's about the process. But I remember, when I would go to my therapist throughout the years and say, you got to have some compassion for yourself. It can't just be like driven, like you said, like you got to enjoy what you've achieved and somehow just kind of enjoy life. Like there'd be a lot of times I remember early 20s, and my dad would joke, he's like, yo, why don't you ever smile? But I was always thinking about what I had to do next, not be present in the moment. So I would say if I could have learned mindfulness earlier on, down, that would be what I would tell the 20-year-old Kyle.
I mean, Kyle, so many things just resonate with me, and just thinking, just reflecting on myself, because somebody asked me on an interview once, like, what was your greatest weakness? I said, never taking a second to recognize what I've accomplished, because my mind's already thinking about what I haven't done. Yeah. And how do I get there, right? Like exactly what you're saying. Like take a second, like smell the roses, like enjoy some of the accomplishments you have, because that's what it's about.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's a process, man. The path is happiness. It's not the destination. That's something I think anybody can use in their life.
So Kyle, I mean, what's the best way if someone wants to connect with you, learn more about your gym? I'll put it also in the notes.
Yeah. They can go on our website, newellstrength.com. They can shoot me a message through Facebook, and you can put my personal number right in there, 908-229-6666. They can shoot me a text. I'll get back to them. And yeah, man, that's the easiest ways to get in touch with us if they want to try something here.
Well, I got to tell you, it's like a gym like no other gym. All the coaches, Kyle, great family, they all care. And that's what you can't, that's big. People care. You can't fake that.
I appreciate that. That's, that's what we try to pride ourselves on.
So, Kyle, I appreciate you taking your time. Again, anybody interested in learning more about Kyle, he's got great information, great videos about fasting and dieting and nutrition. Just on his Facebook, definitely connect with him. There's so much valuable content there. So, Kyle, thanks again, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
All right. Thanks, bro.